I saw the tweet from Latif where he was like, look, you guys all in Europe are saying Zato's the best character. It's actually just that I'm sick nasty. Zato is really good though. I think a lot of tier lists have him as one of the stronger characters, right? I think the top 4 in some order, people usually have Ram, Nago, Leo, Soul. Those 4 characters I think are the ones that they feel pretty confident about. It's just after that people are like, who? Crazy how hard Mei fell off in people's eyes. So, like before this last patch, there was talk in Europe like, oh, Mei is the best character in the game. They were all saying that in that version where she was smoking everybody, right? And she was pretty good in that version. At the time, Slash was kind of putting hands on everybody in Europe, coincidentally. Then you see this. Latif wins the tournament that just happened in Europe, looked incredibly dominant. I hear that everyone in EMEA thinks Zato is the best character. I think this happens a lot. Sometimes there is that feeling of like, it's hard to differentiate the player strength versus the character strength. Pre and post patch, Deb smokes everybody with Soul, right? Soul's an incredibly strong character. Like, he was the best character at the time, but then even when he wasn't, Deb was still doing really well, and people were like, this is the best character. So Deb then picks Happy Chaos, and it's like, Happy Chaos is the best character, shooting everybody to death. She's smoking everybody. Not everybody thinks that way, obviously, right? But I think it's pretty easy for people to see a character win and then be like, well, this character's got to be pretty good. Yeah, people were like, see, I knew Gold Lewis didn't suck. Gobo smoked everybody because he picked Gold Lewis against Diaphone. The funny thing about that even is I think Gold Lewis loses to, it's just that result impacted the impression of the character pretty heavily, right? And I mean, Zato, you have a lot of strong cases for Zato, right? That's the kind of character where running into like a Zato player and like a real Zato player is so dramatically, like, it's kind of spooky. Getting an accurate impression of his power level is very difficult because most of the time when you fight like the strongest Zato players, the things they do are rather unique. So you need particular like experience against them to really learn the character at a high level. On the topic of like player skill versus character strength, when you lose the Hotashi, do you discredit it because of his character? No, Hotashi is a very talented player and worked hard to get where he is. What about Razor or Shine? No, then why whenever I win is it always Jacko kind of busted? Not gonna lie. I work for my wins too, y'all. Like, bitch, if I have to hear one more person watch me work my ass off to beat a Nago and then go, yeah, he always lost this matchup, TBH, I'm gonna scream. Just because you lost to a Jacko player doesn't mean that Jacko is suddenly broke, for real. Like, she was pretty good before you knew what she did. And now that you do know what she did, she's still a pretty good character. She's not one of the stronger characters, but she's fine. And the player you're playing is also very good. Like, this is a character specialist. You can't just like smoke everybody and then be like, my character is so good, I don't have to learn what Jacko does. That knowledge of like character interactions and stuff is really important. And if you don't have it, you will get fucked up. Tournament results don't really equate to tier lists that often. Mostly because characters that are strong in tournaments are not always even the strongest character in the game. I think like a good example is Axel is like really a good tournament character. And the reason is Axel's strong matchups are a lot of the most popular strong characters in the game. If his bracket is Leos and Souls and Nagos and Zato, he's having the best day of his life. Axel's just eating, right? These are all matchups that he'd be happy to play. And he can just chill. I think characters that can play in a way that's very like they force you to answer what they're doing are also good in tournament because you can kind of play a nice patient playstyle that forces your opponent to do stuff. And I think that in tournament that oftentimes makes people panic and stuff. Ram is everyone's worst matchup. That's not true though. She is good though. She is very good against most of the cast. Yeah, I think Happy Chaos is a hard character to configure a game plan for, I mean, people couldn't figure out a game plan for Soul, and like his game plan was punch or throw. So if the game plan is like multi-layered beyond that, then people are really, it's gonna take a lot of time. He requires like a more nuanced understanding of the risk reward and what to do against his stuff. It's you also can't lab against him very easily compared to a character like Soul, or like you want to lab against Geo, you're like, okay, this is pretty easy. I just hit far slash and this and that. I've been thinking about it lately though. I kind of feel like I want to play Happy Chaos instead of Soul. Happy Chaos to me fits the kind of ground game that I want to play more than Soul does in this version. It's like so rewarding and his buttons are so good versus like if you whip punish with Soul 6S or 6H, it's not really as like valuable, I guess is how I describe it, as like someone like Happy Chaos. Happy Chaos is actually more like old Soul than new Soul. Yeah, he kind of is. I truly am waiting for Sin, if I'm honest with you. I was really a Sin player in Exert. I play a lot of Soul, but I played more Sin. I was curious if you had thought about what matchups might be bad for Happy Chaos, but I was like, oh yeah, everybody's been Elden Ringing. I don't think anybody knows the matchup chart for any character right now. The matchup chart is that Elden Ring is too long. I was playing Strive last night. I just went to the tower and I was like, I barely remember what to do. I just picked Gold Lewis because I was like, I'm just gonna start behemothing, and if they run into it, I'll win. And that's exactly what happened.